The UEA's Defiant hung against the star-flecked void, its sleek hull reflecting distant explosions like silent lightning. Unlike the organic curves of Confederation vessels or the brutal geometric precision of Dominion warships, the human craft featured a hybrid design philosophy that defied easy categorization. Armored plates overlapped like scales along its flanks, interspersed with strange bulges and recesses that served no immediately obvious purpose. "All stations, report status," Commander Chen ordered, her voice calm despite the chaos unfolding on the tactical display. The bridge of the Defiant was surprisingly compact compared to the vast command centers of alien vessels. Designed for efficiency rather than ceremony, it placed every officer within arm's reach of at least two others. Weapon systems green across the board. Lieutenant Park responded from the tactical station, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. CIWS grid at full capacity. Missile tubes loaded and ready. Engineering reports antimatter containment at optimal levels. Called Lieutenant Okafor from operations, her accent carrying traces of Earth's Nigerian regions. Gravitic shielding at 100%. Dr. Sanjay Mehta, the ship's xenobiologist, leaned toward Chen. "Commander, I'm detecting significant biological components in the Dominion vessels. Their hulls appear to be semi-organic." Chen nodded thoughtfully. "Noted. That may explain their coordinated movements." She turned to communications. "Ensign Rivera, broadcast our arrival message on all standard frequencies. Include first contact protocols." The young communications officer nodded, her face illuminated by her console's glow. "Broadcasting now, Commander." Across the void, both battling fleets seemed to pause as they registered the newcomer. The Defiant's arrival had disrupted the battle's rhythm, introducing an unknown variable into what had been a grimly predictable slaughter. Aboard the Confederation flagship Eternal Vigilance, Admiral Zex Till's central eye stalk swiveled toward his sensor officer. Classification: Unknown, Admiral. Material composition suggests advanced metallurgy beyond our capability. Power signature is unusual. They appear to be using some form of controlled gravitational manipulation for propulsion. Impossible, hissed Science Director Vrulka, her feathered crest rising in agitation. Such technology would require. She trailed off as new data scrolled across her display. By the cosmic egg, they're generating a localized space-time distortion field. The Void Dominion forces, momentarily hesitant, soon resumed their advance. 3 destroyer-class vessels broke formation, accelerating toward the seemingly vulnerable human ship. Their movement had the perfect coordination of a single organism rather than individual craft, the hallmark of the Dominion's dreaded hive mind tactical network. On the Defiance bridge, Tactical Officer Park tracked their approach. 3 hostiles on intercept course, Commander. Pattern suggests standard Dominion encirclement protocol. Chen's lips curved slightly. "They're treating us like a Confederation vessel." She tapped her command console, bringing up a 3-dimensional battle projection. "Let's show them their mistake." Navigator, plot intercept course Delta 7. Lieutenant Park, prepare point defense grid for close engagement. Lieutenant Okafor, divert auxiliary power to forward shields and maneuvering thrusters. As orders echoed across the bridge, Chen leaned forward in her command chair, eyes gleaming with the light of distant stars and closer explosions. "All hands, prepare for combat maneuvers." Her voice carried a certainty that steadied the crew, many on their first combat deployment beyond Earth's solar system. Today, humanity introduces itself to the galaxy. The Defiance engines flared brilliant blue as it accelerated directly toward the oncoming Dominion vessels. To the watching alien fleets, it appeared to be either an act of suicidal bravery or profound tactical insanity. Neither the Confederation nor the Dominion could have predicted what would happen next. The Dominion destroyers adjusted their formation as the Defiant approached, spreading into a perfect equilateral triangle designed to trap the human vessel in a crossfire. Their black hulls, resembling polished obsidian, absorbed rather than reflected the light of nearby stars. a technological feat that had given Dominion vessels their ghostly reputation among Confederation forces. "They're charging primary weapons," Lieutenant Park announced, his fingers flying across his tactical display. Energy signatures match known Dominion plasma lance configurations. Impact in 15 seconds. Commander Chen nodded calmly. "Execute Broken Arrow Protocol." Her order triggered a series of actions that had been rehearsed countless times during the long journey from Earth. The Defiant suddenly cut its main engines and fired lateral thrusters in a seemingly random pattern. To observers, the ship appeared to tumble out of control, spinning along multiple axes simultaneously. In the Dominion command network, the tactical algorithms registered confusion. The human vessel's movement pattern matched no known evasive maneuver in their extensive database. The three destroyers adjusted aim, their targeting systems struggling to lock onto the erratically moving target. "Countermeasures deployed," called Lieutenant Okafor. From recessed ports along the Defiant's hull, dozens of small objects erupted, each barely larger than a human fist. These devices, dubbed Fireflies by their Earth designers, activated immediately, generating electromagnetic fields identical to the Defiant's power signature. "They're firing," Park reported. The Dominion's plasma lances discharged in perfect synchronization, three brilliant purple beams converging on the space where their targeting systems predicted the Defiant would be. Instead, they encountered a cloud of fireflies. 15 of the small devices detonated on impact, each explosion magnified by the energy of the weapons that struck them. The result was a spectacular cascade of light and radiation that momentarily blinded both optical and electromagnetic sensors. "Now," Commander Chen ordered simply. The Defiant's tumble abruptly ceased as hidden control surfaces deployed and specialized thrusters fired. The ship shot forward with acceleration that would have killed an unprotected crew. Inside, however, advanced inertial dampeners and the crew's extensive genetic modifications allowed them to withstand forces that would have incapacitated most species. "Targeting solutions locked," Park confirmed, his voice tight with concentration. "All weapons have firing solutions." "Execute," Chen commanded. What followed was not the expected barrage of energy weapons or missiles that characterized conventional space combat. Instead, the Defiant released 6 cylindrical objects that accelerated toward the nearest Dominion destroyer. These devices, designated as Muse units, multiphasic unstable subspace emitters, attached themselves to the enemy vessel's hull before the Dominion's point defense systems could respond. Muse units deployed and activated, Park reported with professional satisfaction. The Muse units pulsed once, emitting no visible energy, but causing the Dominion destroyer's semi-organic hull to convulse violently. The ship's lights flickered and died as command signals from the hive mind network were suddenly scrambled by interference patterns specifically designed to disrupt their neural-based communications. Admiral Zex Till watched in astonishment from the Confederation flagship. They disabled it without destroying it. He whispered to his second-in-command, "How is this possible?" Meanwhile, the Defiant was already executing a tight turn that defied the known limitations of inertial physics, bringing its main weapons to bear on the second Dominion vessel. This time, conventional weapons fired. A combination of hypervelocity kinetic projectiles and focused energy beams that struck with surgical precision at the destroyer's propulsion nodes and weapon emplacements. The third Dominion ship, recognizing the unexpected threat, attempted to disengage and retreat to the main fleet. Commander Chen anticipated this. "They're running," Park noted. "Let's not allow that," Chen replied. "Navigation, intercept course. Lieutenant Rivera, prepare the message packet." The Defiant surged forward, overtaking the fleeing Dominion vessel with surprising speed. Rather than opening fire, however, the human ship matched velocity and broadcast a tight beam transmission directly into the Dominion vessel's communication array. The alien ship shuddered to a halt as the human transmission, containing a precisely calculated sequence of code designed to create a recursive logic error in the Dominion's command protocols, took effect. All 3 targets neutralized, Park confirmed. Minimal structural damage to enemy vessels. Crew life signs stable but disorganized. Commander Chen allowed herself a small smile. Excellent work, everyone. This was exactly the demonstration we needed. She turned to communications. Ensign Rivera, open a channel to all vessels, both Confederation and Dominion. It's time to introduce ourselves properly. The makeshift conference aboard the Confederation flagship Eternal Vigilance was unlike any diplomatic meeting in recent galactic history. Representatives from 7 major Confederation species crowded the chamber, their environmental suits and translation devices creating a cacophony of sounds and smells. At the center of attention stood Commander Chen and her executive officer, Lieutenant Commander Marcus Jackson, seemingly at ease despite being the first humans most aliens had ever encountered in person. Your neutralization of 3 Dominion destroyers was efficient, stated Grand Strategist Krell of the Lithic Concordance, his crystalline body structure reflecting light in prismatic patterns. Yet our scans indicate your vessel masses only 1/8 of a standard destroyer. This suggests technological superiority we have not observed. Chen exchanged a glance with Jackson before responding. Not superiority, Strategist Krell. Difference. She gestured to the holographic display showing the Defiance schematics. Our advantage isn't that we have more advanced technology. It's that we approach problems from perspectives the Dominion hasn't encountered. Explain, demanded Admiral Zex Till, his central eye stalk fixed intently on Chen. Jackson stepped forward, his tall frame and dark skin drawing curious stares from several alien representatives. Consider your fleet formations, he began, activating a tactical display showing recent Confederation battle configurations. Each species positions their vessels according to doctrines developed over centuries. The hive coordinators of the Thraxi place their dreadnoughts at precise mathematical intervals. The Phaeraci arrange their cruisers in spectral patterns based on their light sensory combat techniques. These are optimal configurations proven through generations of warfare, interjected Defense Minister Larath of the Phaeraci Coalition, her luminescent skin pulsing with skepticism. Optimal against known threats, Chen corrected gently. Predictable to an enemy who has studied you for decades. The Dominion knows exactly how you'll respond to any given scenario. Science Director Vrelka's feathered crest twitched with sudden understanding. But they don't know how humans respond. Precisely, Chen confirmed. Humanity developed warfare in isolation, against ourselves. We have dozens of distinct military traditions, each with their own approaches to strategy and tactics. Roman legion formations, Mongol horse archer mobility, European castle siegecraft, Japanese naval tactics, American strategic bombing doctrine, Chinese asymmetric warfare. She paused as the translation devices struggled with the unfamiliar terms. Different problems produced different solutions on Earth, Jackson continued. We never reached consensus on the right way to fight. What you see as inefficient diversity, we recognize as our greatest strength. Admiral Zex Till gestured toward the viewport where the Defiant was visible against the starfield. Your single vessel carries this. Diversity. Chen nodded. Every officer aboard the Defiant has trained in multiple Earth military traditions. Our tactical systems incorporate algorithms based on thousands of years of human conflict theory. When we face a problem, we don't apply a single solution. We synthesize approaches from across our history. Medical Officer Dr. Ilaritsu, who had remained silent until now, added, our physiological adaptability mirrors our tactical flexibility. Humans are generalists. We can survive in almost any environment with minimal modification. She displayed a hologram showing human genetic structures. Our genetic code contains remarkable plasticity. We've enhanced these natural capabilities through careful modification, but the baseline human is already extraordinarily adaptable. The alien representatives exchanged meaningful glances. Many species in the Confederation had evolved toward extreme specialization, resulting in remarkable capabilities within narrow domains, but limiting their flexibility. There's something else you should understand about humans, Commander Chen said, her tone growing more serious. From childhood, we're taught to question authority and think independently. It's built into our educational systems, our cultural narratives, even our play activities. This makes us difficult to predict. Admiral Zextil's appendages rippled in what Jackson recognized as the Cephalian equivalent of a thoughtful frown. This independent thinking, it does not create chaos within your command structure. Chen smiled. It creates managed chaos. Human military discipline isn't about eliminating individual initiative. It's about channeling it productively. Our junior officers are expected to make decisions without constant oversight. They understand the mission objectives, but have flexibility in how they achieve them. Impossible, muttered Defense Minister Lareth. Such a system would collapse under pressure. On the contrary, Chen countered, it thrives under pressure. When communications fail or circumstances change unexpectedly, humans adapt without waiting for new orders. The Dominion's hive mind approach creates perfect coordination, but terrible adaptability. Cut off from the network, their ships become vulnerable. Humans function best when the unexpected occurs. A low murmur spread through the alien representatives as they digested this information. For species that had evolved in relatively stable environments, the human approach to warfare seemed chaotic, even reckless. Yet they could not deny the results. I believe, Admiral Zextil said slowly, we have much to learn from each other. The Strategic Command Center aboard the Eternal Vigilance hummed with tension as 19 human officers in modified environmental suits prepared to transfer to various Confederation vessels. Each human stood beside their alien counterparts, the physical differences between species made starkly apparent by proximity. Lieutenant Maya Santos, barely reaching the shoulder of the towering Ursan commander she would advise, maintained perfect military posture despite the obvious intimidation factor. General Krag of the Ursan Collective continued his protest, massive furred arms gesturing emphatically. This plan violates every principle of unified command. 19 different tactical approaches will create chaos, not coordination. Commander Chen remained unruffled by the general's objections. With respect, General, coordinated predictability is precisely what has allowed the Dominion to decimate your forces. Tactical diversity is our objective. Lieutenant Commander Jackson activated a holographic display showing the modified fleet formations they had proposed. Each battle group will operate semi-independently, following different tactical doctrines drawn from Earth's military history. He highlighted specific groups. Cruiser Group Alpha will employ the Fabian strategy, avoiding direct engagement while striking vulnerable support vessels. Destroyer Group Delta will adapt blitzkrieg principles, concentrated breakthrough followed by rapid exploitation. And who developed these strategies? Asked Admiral Zextil, his appendages manipulating the hologram to examine the proposed formations. The Fabian strategy was developed by a Roman general fighting against a numerically superior force 2,000 years ago, Chen explained. Blitzkrieg was a mechanized warfare doctrine from our 20th century. We've adapted each historical approach to space warfare parameters. Science Director Vrulka's feathers rustled with skepticism. You expect us to entrust our vessels to combat doctrines developed for primitive land warfare? Lieutenant Commander Jackson smiled patiently. The principles transcend the environment, Director. Whether crossing mountains or star systems, the fundamentals of maneuver warfare remain consistent. In the corner of the command center, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Tsu was engaged in intense discussion with Confederation xenobiologists. The neural interface adapters should allow your ship captains to receive tactical guidance without removing their natural command authority, she explained, displaying a device no larger than her thumb. These will translate human tactical concepts directly into terms familiar to each species. A Thraxi commander, chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the lights, clicked his mandibles anxiously. These devices connect to our neural systems. The security implications are significant, Dr. Tsu finished for him, which is why each interface is one-directional and contains multiple hardware safeguards. Your thoughts remain private. Ours are transmitted as tactical guidance only." Commander Chen rejoined the central discussion, her expression resolute. "We understand your concerns. Earth spent centuries navigating similar issues of trust and sovereignty between our nations. But right now, the Dominion regroups for another assault. Their algorithms are already adapting to our initial encounter. We need to evolve our approach before they develop effective countermeasures." Admiral Zextil's central eye stalk swiveled between the alien commanders before settling back on Chen. "How quickly can your officers deploy?" "Immediately," Chen replied without hesitation. "Each has been thoroughly briefed on their host vessel's capabilities and crew composition. The neural interfaces will accelerate integration." The Admiral's appendages performed a complex gesture that the humans recognized as a sign of grave decision. "Very well. Commander Chen, I am provisionally accepting your proposal." He turned to the assembled Confederation officers. "All vessel commanders will integrate their human tactical advisors and implement the proposed formation changes. First priority is comprehensive sensor recalibration to counter Dominion stealth technology." General Cragg growled but offered no further objection. The other commanders signaled their assent through various species-specific gestures. Commander Chen nodded to her officers, who immediately moved to join their assigned Confederation counterparts. Lieutenant Santos caught Chen's eye as she prepared to depart with her Ursan commander. The unspoken message between them communicated volumes. Humanity's first military alliance with alien species now rested on their shoulders. As the command center emptied, Admiral Zextil approached Chen privately. "Commander, there is something I must know." His voice modulator lowered to a frequency barely perceptible to human hearing. "Earth has remained hidden from galactic society until now. Why reveal yourselves for our war? What do humans truly seek from this alliance?" Chen met the alien's compound gaze directly. "Admiral, humanity has watched this conflict from afar for decades. We recognized in the Dominion's drive for absolute conformity the same impulses that nearly destroyed our own civilization multiple times." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "We seek no territory, no resources, no political advantage. We simply recognize that a galaxy ruled by the Dominion would have no place for a species like ours, or yours." The Admiral's appendages stilled. "Then we share the same objective, Commander." "Yes," Chen agreed. "The freedom to remain different." Lieutenant Maya Santos stood at an auxiliary tactical station aboard the Confederation cruiser Righteous Thunder, acutely aware of how out of place she appeared among the massive Ursan crew. Her environmental suit, custom-fitted for human physiology, contrasted sharply with the natural thick fur that protected the bear-like Ursans from the ship's cold, dense atmosphere. "Dominion forces have completed their regrouping," reported the Ursan sensor officer, voice rumbling through the translator in Santos' helmet. "Their formation is unusual. They appear to be adapting to our new deployments." Captain Gromish, his silver-streaked fur marking him as a veteran of many campaigns, turned his massive head toward Santos. "Your assessment, human advisor." Santos studied the tactical display, noting the subtle changes in the Dominion fleet positioning. "They're hedging their bets, Captain. Their algorithms have registered our formation changes, but can't predict our intentions." She highlighted a section of the enemy formation. "They've created a flexible response configuration, strong central reserves with mobile elements on the flanks. A defensive posture," Gromish noted with surprise. "The Dominion rarely adopts such caution." "We've introduced uncertainty into their calculations," Santos confirmed. "Now we exploit it." She activated her neural interface, transmitting tactical updates to the human advisors across the fleet. "All human tactical officers are synchronized, Captain. We're ready to execute Phase 1 of Operation Chimera." Across the Confederation fleet, 19 different battle groups began to move in seemingly uncoordinated patterns. To observers, the formation appeared to be dissolving into chaos, with vessels breaking established combat formations and regrouping along unexpected vectors. Aboard the Dominion command vessel Inevitable Truth, The hive mind tactical nexus registered confusion. For the first time in centuries of warfare, its predictive algorithms failed to identify coherent patterns in enemy movements. The distributed consciousness that coordinated the Dominion fleet hesitated, unsure which threat to prioritize. This moment of indecision was precisely what the human tacticians had anticipated. "Now, Captain," Santos urged, her voice tight with concentration. Captain Gromish bared his impressive teeth in what humans would learn was an Ursan smile. "All weapons, full discharge on designated targets." The Righteous Thunder and its escort vessels unleashed a devastating barrage against a section of the Dominion line that had thinned to respond to a feint by another battle group. Similar strikes occurred simultaneously across the battlefield as human advisors coordinated their attacks through their neural interfaces, creating a complex pattern of assaults impossible to predict through conventional analysis. "Multiple direct hits," reported the Ursan weapons officer, surprise evident in his rumbling voice. "Enemy vessels showing significant damage." Santos nodded in satisfaction, but kept her focus on the tactical display. "They'll adapt quickly. Signal the Defiant. We need the song deployed now." At the center of the battlefield, the UES Defiant executed a series of rapid micro-jumps, each bringing it closer to the heart of the Dominion formation. Commander Chen sat in her command chair, hands steady on the controls despite the tremendous strain these maneuvers placed on both ship and crew. "Final jump calculations complete," reported Navigation Officer Lieutenant Wu, sweat beading on her forehead from the mental exertion of plotting such precise spatial transitions. "We'll emerge directly behind their command vessel's defensive screen." "Execute," Chen ordered. The Defiant vanished in a brief distortion of space-time, reappearing moments later in the most heavily defended region of the Dominion fleet. Alarm signals immediately blared across the bridge as enemy weapons systems locked onto the human vessel. "All countermeasures active," Lieutenant Park announced from Tactical. "CIWS engaging incoming fire. Shields at maximum." Chen's expression remained focused. Status of the song. Dr. Mehta monitored his specialized console, fingers dancing across controls. "Generator at 93% capacity. The calibrations from our initial encounter have improved efficiency. We can sustain broadcast for approximately 7 minutes before power reserves become critical." "That should be sufficient," Chen decided. "Deploy when ready." Throughout the Defiant, specialized emitter arrays activated, drawing enormous power from the ship's antimatter core. What emerged was not a conventional weapon, but a carefully modulated energy pattern designed by Earth's leading xenobiologists and communications theorists. A song that specifically disrupted the psychic frequencies used by the Dominion's hive mind. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Across the Dominion fleet, the perfect coordination that made their forces so formidable began to falter. Individual vessels hesitated, their crews suddenly forced to make decisions independently as the psychic network binding them together dissolved into static. "It's working," Lieutenant Park reported, unable to keep a note of triumph from his voice. "Dominion vessels are breaking formation. Their fire control is degrading. Targeting efficiency down 60% and falling." From the tactical network connecting the human advisors came a chorus of similar reports. Throughout the Confederation fleet, alien commanders watched in astonishment as the previously unstoppable Dominion forces descended into disarray. Lieutenant Santos allowed herself a brief moment of satisfaction before returning to the task at hand. "Captain Gromish, all battle groups report Dominion command and control disruption. Request permission to execute Phase 2, targeting their logistics and support vessels." The massive Ursan captain regarded her with newfound respect. "Permission granted, Lieutenant. Let us show these Dominion drones what happens when they face true warriors rather than simple prey." The observation deck of the Confederation flagship Eternal Vigilance had been hastily converted into a secure briefing room. Holographic displays showed the ongoing battle, where Confederation vessels pursued the now disorganized Dominion fleet with unprecedented success. Around a central tactical table stood the senior leadership of both the Confederation and the human contingent, expressions of cautious optimism evident across multiple species. The disruption of their hive mind network has proven more effective than our most optimistic projections. Commander Chen noted, manipulating the holographic display to highlight specific engagement zones. Individual Dominion vessels are now operating independently, something their crews have minimal training for. Science Director Vrelka's feathers rippled with excitement as she reviewed data streaming from the battlefield. Most fascinating. When isolated from the collective, many Dominion drone soldiers appear unable to adapt to changing circumstances. Their decision-making shows significant delays and errors, a predictable consequence of their societal structure. Lieutenant Commander Jackson observed, "The Dominion values perfect obedience over individual initiative. Their drone soldiers are conditioned from birth to follow orders without question, a significant advantage when the hive mind functions properly, but a critical vulnerability when communication breaks down." Admiral Zex Till's appendages gestured toward a section of the display where Confederation forces had encircled a Dominion battle group. "Your tactical advisors have transformed our fleet operations in mere hours. This level of adaptation should be impossible." Chen exchanged glances with Jackson before responding. "Admiral, there's something you need to understand about human history. Unlike many species in the Confederation, our path to civilization wasn't peaceful or straightforward. Humans fought each other, constantly, brutally, and ingeniously. For most of our recorded history, you made war upon yourselves." Asked Krell of the Lithic Concordance, crystalline facets reflecting the holographic battle in kaleidoscopic patterns. "Thousands of wars across thousands of years," Chen confirmed. "Nation against nation, ideology against ideology, religion against religion. Earth was divided by geography, language, culture, and belief in ways that the unified species of the Confederation might find difficult to comprehend. A tragic history," Admiral Zex Till observed. "Yes," Jackson acknowledged, "but one that forged humanity into what we are now." Each conflict drove innovation, not just in weaponry, but in strategy, logistics, communications, medicine, and psychology. Chen manipulated the holographic display to show historical images from Earth, Roman legions in formation, medieval castle sieges, naval battles with wooden ships, trench warfare, aerial combat, and modern special forces operations. The alien observers watched with a mixture of fascination and horror, while the Confederation evolved toward cooperation and the Dominion toward conformity. Humans evolved through competition, Chen explained. Every war produced winners and losers. The winners passed on their successful strategies. The losers adapted or perished. This crucible of conflict created thousands of distinct approaches to warfare, each refined against thinking opponents rather than environmental challenges. A dangerous evolutionary path, noted medical officer Dr. Tsu, who had joined the briefing. Humanity nearly destroyed itself several times. Our nuclear weapons era brought us to the brink of extinction. But even that experience taught us valuable lessons about deterrence, escalation control, and the psychology of confrontation. Defense Minister Larath's luminescent skin pulsed with patterns that indicated deep thought. "You turned your internal conflicts into wisdom." Eventually, Jackson confirmed, "Earth is now unified, but we deliberately preserved our diverse military traditions. Russian Arctic warfare specialists, British naval strategists, Chinese infiltration experts, American aerospace tacticians, Israeli defensive operations planners, all now serve together, sharing their cultural approaches to conflict." Admiral Zex Till manipulated his console, bringing up performance metrics from the ongoing battle. "The effectiveness of your tactical advisors varies significantly. Some battle groups show dramatically improved performance, while others show more modest gains. That's by design," Chen explained. "Each human officer is implementing different tactical doctrines based on their specialization and the capabilities of their assigned vessels. Some approaches will prove more effective than others against the Dominion. We're gathering data on which strategies work best in real time, then adapting accordingly." Tactical evolution within a single battle, Vrelka whispered, feathers quivering. The Dominion cannot possibly predict this. They cannot, Chen agreed. Their entire approach to warfare is based on the assumption that optimal strategies will eventually converge, that there is a perfect way to fight that can be calculated given sufficient processing power. Humanity's history proves otherwise. There is no single optimal approach, only an endless series of adaptations and counter-adaptations between thinking adversaries. The holographic display updated, showing new movements from the remaining Dominion forces. Several vessels had broken from the retreat and were regrouping in a new formation. They're adapting, Jackson noted with professional respect. Their command structure is reconstructing itself. The song's effects are being mitigated. Chen nodded, unsurprised. As expected. The Dominion has survived this long because it can evolve rapidly. The hive mind is learning to operate on different frequencies, ones our current disruption patterns can't affect. Then we have gained only a temporary advantage, Admiral Zextil asked, concern evident in his posture. Chen smiled, a small, confident expression that her human colleagues recognized well. Admiral, adaptation is humanity's greatest strength. The Dominion can evolve quickly, but they evolve along predictable paths. We've already prepared our response for their most likely countermeasures. She activated her neural interface, sending new instructions to the human tactical advisors across the Confederation fleet. Now we show them another human specialty, the ability to change the rules of engagement when the enemy thinks they've figured us out. Alarms blared across every vessel in the Confederation fleet as space itself seemed to distort. The fabric of reality bulged inward like a membrane under pressure before tearing open in a spectacular eruption of exotic particles and gravitational waves. From this artificial rift emerged the inevitable conclusion: the Dominion's supreme weapon platform, and the physical manifestation of their collective consciousness. The dreadnought defied conventional description. Its central mass stretched nearly 20 kilometers from stem to stern, but its outline remained difficult to focus on, as though the vessel existed partially in dimensions beyond normal perception. Countless smaller structures extended from the main body like the branches of some terrible metallic tree, each housing weapon systems capable of reducing planets to molten slag. By all that lives, whispered Admiral Zextil, all three of his eye stalks fixed on the tactical display. They've committed their world breaker. Aboard the UES Defiant, the bridge crew maintained their discipline despite the collective intake of breath at the dreadnought's appearance. Commander Chen studied the massive vessel, her expression thoughtful rather than fearful. Preliminary scans complete, reported Science Officer Dr. Mehta, his voice steady despite the tension. The vessel's mass readings are inconsistent with its volume, suggesting significant portions exist in folded space. Energy output exceeds anything in our database by several orders of magnitude. Confirmed, Lieutenant Park added from tactical. Weapons systems powering up across all sectors. Conservative estimate places its firepower at equivalent to the combined output of our entire fleet. Commander Chen nodded calmly. As expected, the Dominion wouldn't commit their flagship unless they felt truly threatened. She opened a channel to the Confederation Command. Admiral Zextil, the inevitable conclusion has arrived precisely according to our contingency scenarios. Request permission to implement Nemesis protocol. A moment of silence followed before the Admiral's voice responded. Explain this protocol, Commander. Chen gestured to her science officer. Dr. Mehta activated a secure holographic projection, showing a complex mechanism housed within the Defiant's central hull. The Nemesis device was developed by Earth's Unified Physics Consortium as an experimental faster-than-light communication system, Mehta explained. It manipulates quantum entanglement fields to create a momentary connection between two distant points in space-time. The original purpose was to achieve instantaneous communication across interstellar distances. And its weaponized application? Admiral Zextil asked, his voice betraying concern. Commander Chen took over the explanation. The same technology that can connect 2 points in space-time can also be used to temporarily focus gravitational waves from a nearby star. The effect creates a directed gravitational shear. Essentially, different parts of the target experience different gravitational forces simultaneously. Admiral Zextil's appendages rippled in alarm. Such technology borders on prohibited levels of spatial manipulation. We understand your concern, Chen acknowledged. Earth developed this technology for peaceful applications, but we recognized its potential when we began monitoring the conflict with the Dominion. The Nemesis device has never been deployed as a weapon before now. Across the communication channel, the sounds of urgent discussion among the Confederation leadership could be heard. Finally, Admiral Zextil spoke again. What are the expected effects on the Dominion dreadnought? The gravitational shear should disrupt the structural integrity of any vessel caught in the focal point, Dr. Medet explained. For a conventional ship, this would be catastrophic. For the inevitable conclusion, with its partially extra-dimensional structure, the effects are harder to predict. At minimum, we expect significant disruption to their propulsion and weapons systems. And the risks? The Admiral pressed. Commander Chen met the gazes of her bridge crew before responding. The Nemesis device requires precise alignment with both the target and the local star. The Defiant will need to maintain position between them, well within the Dreadnought's weapons range, for approximately 3 minutes while the gravitational lens forms. Additionally, the power requirements will leave us virtually defenseless during the procedure. A suicide mission, Admiral Zextil concluded. A calculated risk, Chen corrected. If successful, we disable the most powerful weapon in the Dominion arsenal without destroying it, potentially saving millions of lives on both sides of this conflict. The channel fell silent again as the Confederation leadership deliberated. Meanwhile, the inevitable conclusion completed its emergence from the spatial rift, its massive weapons arrays orienting toward the Confederation fleet. Initial salvos lashed out, obliterating 3 cruisers before they could even attempt evasive maneuvers. Their targeting algorithms are more sophisticated than we anticipated, Lieutenant Park reported grimly. They're prioritizing vessels with human tactical advisors. Commander Chen's expression hardened. They recognize the threat we pose. She reopened the channel to Confederation Command. Admiral, we're running out of time. The Dreadnought is specifically targeting our integration points. Without the Nemesis protocol, this battle is lost. After another moment of tense silence, Admiral Zextil's voice came through, carrying the formal tones of an official decision. Defiant, you are authorized to implement Nemesis protocol. All Confederation vessels will provide covering fire and defensive support. May your ancestors guide your path. Chen nodded to her crew. Helm, plot intercept course to position Alpha. Engineering, begin power shunting to the Nemesis core. Communications, transmit our tactical data to the fleet. If we fail, they'll need everything we've learned. As orders echoed across the bridge, the Defiant's engines flared brilliant blue. The human vessel accelerated directly toward the massive dreadnought, its course a precise vector that would place it directly between the alien flagship and the system's primary star. All hands, Commander Chen announced shipwide. This is what we trained for. History will remember this day not as the moment humans proved their worth to the galaxy, but as the day we proved our commitment to a future where diversity flourishes. Execute your duties with pride. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Confederation capital world Harmonia was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from 87 species occupied the tiered seating that rose in a perfect spiral toward the distant ceiling. Light filtered through crystalline panels, casting rainbow patterns across the assembled dignitaries. At the center of the chamber stood a delegation of humans, the first official diplomatic mission from Earth to the Galactic Confederation. Commander Ilara Chen, now wearing the formal white and gold uniform of the United Earth Diplomatic Corps, stood at the delegation's head. The scars on her face and the slight stiffness in her movements, legacy of the Defiant's desperate battle with the inevitable conclusion, had done nothing to diminish her commanding presence. The events at the Battle of Proxima Centauri have forever changed the course of this conflict, announced High Chancellor Fellow of the Confederation Council, his translucent body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that conveyed his emotional state to those who could interpret them. The disabled Dominion dreadnought now orbits our research facility at Outpost 7, its hive mind core providing invaluable insight into our adversary. Admiral Zex Till, newly elevated to Supreme Commander of Confederation Forces, stepped forward. His ceremonial armor gleamed under the chamber lights, the 13 new honor markings on his carapace representing each major engagement since the humans had joined their cause. 3 standard months ago, a single human warship entered our battle. He began, his voice carrying easily through the hall's perfect acoustics. Today, 47 human vessels fight alongside our fleet, their tactical officers integrated throughout our command structure. The Dominion forces have been pushed back across 7 sectors. For the first time in a generation, we are not merely surviving, we are prevailing. Murmurs of approval rippled through the assembly. On a diplomatic balcony, Lieutenant Maya Santos exchanged glances with Captain Gromish. The Ursan commander's battle-scarred fur and the human officers still healing injuries testified to the difficult campaigns they had faced together since their initial meeting. Chancellor Philo raised his appendages for silence. Commander Chen, please address the assembly. Chen stepped forward, her movements measured and dignified. Distinguished representatives of the Confederation, I stand before you not as a conqueror or savior, but as a messenger from a world that has only recently found its own unity. She paused, surveying the vast array of alien faces. Humanity spent millennia divided, often fighting amongst ourselves over resources, ideology, and territory. We nearly destroy our civilization multiple times before recognizing a fundamental truth that the Confederation embodied long before we reached the stars. Diversity strengthens rather than weakens us. She gestured to the delegation behind her, men and women representing Earth's varied cultures, ethnicities, and traditions. What the Dominion sees as chaos, we recognize as adaptability. What they perceive as inefficiency, we understand as resilience. The very qualities they seek to eliminate from the galaxy are those that make life worth preserving. Chancellor Fellow's bioluminescence shifted to patterns indicating deep agreement. The Dominion seeks perfect order through forced homogeneity. They cannot comprehend societies that embrace difference. Precisely, Chen confirmed. And that fundamental misunderstanding has become their greatest vulnerability. The Nemesis device that disabled their flagship wasn't simply a weapon. It was a disruption of their entire worldview. By creating localized chaos in their highly ordered system, we demonstrated the inherent fragility of enforced perfection. Lieutenant Commander Jackson stepped forward with a data crystal, which he presented to the Chancellor. This contains the complete technical specifications for modified Nemesis technology. Earth offers this freely to the Confederation, not as a weapon, but as a defensive measure against future Dominion incursions. A ripple of surprise passed through the assembly. Such technology transfers between newly acquainted species were unprecedented. This is most generous, Chancellor Fellow observed, his luminescence displaying complex patterns of gratitude mixed with caution. With respect, Chancellor, it is merely practical, Chen responded. Earth has no interest in technological superiority or special status within the Confederation. Our goal is a galactic community where all species can develop according to their unique evolutionary paths, without fear of extinction or forced assimilation. Admiral Zex Till moved to stand beside Chen, a symbolic gesture not lost on the assembled representatives. The human concept of alliance differs from our traditional understanding. They do not seek subordination or dominance, but true partnership, mutual growth through shared adversity. Chen nodded in acknowledgement. Admiral Zex Till has grasped an essential truth about humanity. Our history of conflict taught us that the strongest bonds are forged in the crucible of shared struggle. The battle against the Dominion has united our worlds more effectively than any treaty could have. From the upper tiers of the assembly, a representative of the reclusive Aeon Collective spoke, a rare occurrence that immediately silenced all other conversations. The arrival of humans changes the equation. Our predictive models suggest 17 potential futures have now collapsed into 3. Fascinating. Commander Chen smiled at the cryptic comment. If I may be so bold, perhaps that reduction in possibilities is exactly what makes the Dominion fear us. They seek absolute certainty, while humanity has learned to thrive in uncertainty. Chancellor Philo's appendages formed the ceremonial pattern indicating a formal proposal. The Council has deliberated and reaches unanimous decision. Earth will be granted full membership within the Galactic Confederation, with all associated rights and responsibilities. His bioluminescence brightened dramatically. Further, a new combined defense initiative will be established, with integrated command structures incorporating human tactical methodologies throughout our forces. Applause and various species-specific expressions of approval echoed through the chamber. Commander Chen bowed formally, a gesture her team had determined would be recognizable to most Confederation species. Earth accepts these honors with gratitude and humility, she responded. We have much to learn from your ancient civilizations, even as we offer our unique perspective. As the formal proceedings continued, Lieutenant Santos leaned closer to Captain Gromish on their observation balcony. Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this when we first met? She asked quietly. The massive Urson's scared muzzle formed what Santos had learned was their equivalent of a reflective smile. Never. I thought your Commander Chen was leading us to glorious destruction at best. He gestured toward the assembly with one massive paw. Instead, she has helped forge something new. Santos nodded, watching as Chen continued her address to the representatives. That's what humans do best, Captain. We take existing pieces and recombine them in ways no one expected. She paused, considering the vast chamber filled with alien species now united in common purpose. The day a human warship entered the battle wasn't just a moment the galaxy won't forget. It was the day the galaxy's future changed course. Below them, Commander Chen concluded her address with words that would be recorded in Confederation archives for generations to come. The Dominion believes diversity is chaos to be eliminated. Today, we declare it is strength to be celebrated. Together, different yet united, we will demonstrate that the universe has room for all our dreams.